Cloud. Awesome. So I'm also going to, can you pin me, Donnelly? All right. Awesome. So welcome. I'm so glad that you took this time to join me today, this time for your health and empowerment and feeling amazing. So again, whether you're here live or joining, checking out the recording, this is 3 days of amazing tips to help you feel better in your body. We're going to talk about things, um, resetting your mind, ways that we can do that, nurturing your body and balancing your hormones. And the one thing that I've discovered is that the more you try to look at one of these things by themselves, the more you see how they are so interconnected and they're so related. The mind body connection is just amazing. So, as we go through the 3 days, you're probably going to notice that there's overlap between these same things. So, as we're getting settled and making our way into today's session, I'm really kind of curious where everybody's coming in from. So if you want to drop that in the chat, that would be really awesome, just so I know where people are. I'm in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania, so that's basically an hour and a half north of Philly. And I've got St. Louis, Missouri, which is super cool. I got to visit there once and to run around the Arch, and Southern Connecticut. And I've also lived in Southern Connecticut. I lived um, near actually, yeah, very near the Navy base and in Groton, Connecticut. So I lived in Groton and I lived in New London. So I got to explore a little bit of Connecticut there as well. So for anybody who's watching this later, you can always drop me a line, let me know where you are. So with today's session, actually the next 3 days, we're going to talk about feeling better in your body, no matter what number of candles was on your last cake. So one thing that I've learned in talking to women about our health struggles and just dealing with whatever age that we're at is that there's so much information out there, and sometimes we're given conflicting information. And I'm just kind of curious, have you ever felt frustrated or confused about all that information and exactly what you should be doing, and using that awful word should, like one of my friends has a poop emoji hat, and so we talk about shoulding on yourself. So I need to buy that hat. But yeah, so we hear these shoulds, and do you ever feel confused or just frustrated about what exactly it is that you should be doing to feel better in your body? And again, there's that should word. So drop a yes in the chat if that sounds like something you can relate to. And if you've ever felt frustrated or confused about the changes that are happening in your body as you age. Yeah, I'm seeing some yeses in the chat. So yeah, drop a yes in the chat if you've ever felt that as well. And I was really thinking about this the other day. Should get up and move, should stay focused and finish this. Yeah, should. Um, Sometimes most people don't know much about it. Yeah, like, well, that's the interesting thing too, because we hear different things from friends and family, and especially when it comes to, like, when I talk to my mom about it, which has been very limited, it was pretty much, have you gone through the change? And to me, the change just sounds so ominous and sounds so dark, and like the crone, and that once you go through the change, that something maybe makes you less valuable, or you're less of a woman. Have you ever felt anything like that? So you could drop a yes, or what your experience has been, because I think it all depends on who you've spoken to. If it's your sister, your mom, your aunt, your grandmother, there's differing opinions out there. And one thing that I've heard a lot is kind of that you have to suck it up and deal with it. You just have to settle for it. This is what's coming. Just feel like I'm approaching old. Yeah. And one statistic that I read the other day, I feel wiser as I age, but I know the stereotypes of doom, gloom, and aging. Yeah, there are so many stereotypes out there. And the average age for a woman to go through menopause, which basically means she's completed having her period, she no longer has her period for at least a year. That's when you're officially in menopause, is 51. So if you think about how long, or the lifespan, the age span that people can experience, for some women, they may be living a third or a half of their life after that. So thinking about how you want to feel in that next stage, depending upon where you are. And even if you're still having your period, depending upon how it is, if it's like erratic and you can't figure it out anymore. Maybe when you were younger, you knew when your period was coming, and now it's all over the board. Maybe your PMS has gotten worse. Those are all signs that you could be in perimenopause, which again is subject to all those hormonal fluctuations. So that's why we want to talk about the things that we can do, or the things that we can, kind of try to look at with our lifestyle, whether we're in perimenopause, menopause, or beyond, because hormones are something that are in our body. They control just about every single function that goes on in our body. And that starts way back when we were a kid, still happens whether you're still having your period or not. So even though we tend to think of hormones just when it comes to, having babies or having our periods, there's so much more to it. And that's why we're going to talk about a lot of those things today. So, here's another question for you. Have you ever wondered if there's more to aging gracefully than just accepting that inevitable health decline? I have. I want to age better. When I was younger, I thought you get this false sense of security when you're in your 20s. You think you're always going to be there in your 20s or in your 30s. And that aging is something that happens to somebody else. Like your mom is the older person in your life, or your grandparents, and you think, or, maybe I'm speaking for myself. I kind of thought that, oh, I was just going to be young forever. And to tell you the truth, I still feel pretty darn youthful. But I know, I have a grown son. He has a brand new baby. So I know that things are happening, that I'm not quite as young as I thought I was before. But I'm not going to let that stop me. So you're in the right place. I want you to know that you're in the right place. If you're seeking natural ways to boost your energy levels, to improve your body image, and to age gracefully, I'm here to provide the guidance and support that you need to really feel better in your body and embrace a healthier, happier midlife journey. So if those things sound good, then you are absolutely in the right place. And I want you to know that the fact that you're here means that on some level, you know that going it alone isn't cutting it to help you feel the way that you want in your body, or to like the woman you see in the mirror. And that's okay, because I think it can be too easy to fall into that trap of thinking, again, here's that word should, that I should be able to figure it all out on my own. It's my body. I should be able to figure it out. I've had this body for how many years? It used to do things predictably, now not so much. So I should be able to figure it out. So for anyone, especially who is new to me, maybe if you're checking out the recording, I guess I should tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Elisa Alexander, and I am a holistic health coach. I'm a yoga teacher, and I'm so grateful today to be where I am in my life. And that is, I'm going to tell you, I'm 56. I just had a birthday, and I'm so grateful to be able to help so many women feel more confident and better in their bodies in midlife and beyond. So, what started as a love for fitness for me, so back in my early teens, I started teaching my neighbors. I had a couple friends, I would teach them aerobics class in my bedroom. That love of fitness blossomed into a mission to help midlife women overcome aging challenges and really embrace strength and vitality like never before. So again, I started as a personal trainer, and to me that was, a good thing for the path or where I was at the time. But I realized and I've learned through all these years that good health is about way more than just exercising. So I took my love of fitness and I added teaching yoga, teaching meditation, and I also added some Ayurveda to the mix. So Ayurveda is a fun thing to me, but I'm kind of curious, how many of us are familiar with Ayurveda? All right, I'm seeing some hands. Awesome. So Ayurveda, for anyone who maybe is watching and doesn't know, is the sister science of yoga. And to me, it's really about taking care of yourself holistically. And that means looking at yourself and your body as one complete unit. So it's a way of creating balance naturally and working with your body instead of fighting it. And it's about paying attention to the messages from your body and listening when it whispers so you don't have to get to the point of it screaming at you. And by screaming, I mean that's like when you get a major pain in your body, or maybe you get a diagnosis for a disease. So we want to try and pay attention to what's happening. And I know my internet's unstable. Can you guys still see me? Okay. If anything happens where you can't, drop me a message in the chat. But yeah, so Ayurveda is a great way of creating balance. And that's why I incorporated it into everything that I do. And I'm really committed to use those tools to help women rise above mediocrity and stop settling for anything less than feeling amazing. So through my journey, though, I have to tell you, it wasn't always all rainbows and sunshine. There were a lot of times when I treated my body far from healthy. And I thought I was. I really thought I was doing the best things for my body. But I really waged a war against my own body, mistakenly believing that skinny meant being healthy, or that the number on the scale, again, was a sign of healthy. And I rejected the idea of seeking guidance. And I thought, just like I told you, that I could figure it all out on my own. And besides, I was a personal trainer. So I thought, well, I'm in this fitness world and I've been in it for a while. So I thought I should be able to figure it out. And one thing I noticed was that I was really consumed by numbers. So the number on the scale, the number of calories I ate. And, I just let that get to a point where it was taking over everything. And the relentless pursuit of numbers and constant deprivation left me exhausted and feeling far from noticed or nourished. And I had all these symptoms. I just kind of disconnected in my mind. So I had really bad headaches. I had upset stomachs and skin issues. And I figured, well, my parents, my dad had bad headaches and my mom always had stomach aches. And the skin thing, was I think my mom had that too. But it was like just all these things. And I figured, well, you just have to deal with it. It's genetic. And unfortunately, the headaches actually got worse, like mid-40s, and I was starting to wonder what was going on. I thought it was just my job. I didn't make the connection between my hormones and stress and my job and the headaches. And I was kind of walking around blindly thinking, well, again, I'm healthy, so all these things are just stuff I have to deal with. But at a certain point, I really knew that I couldn't continue that way. And it was clear that what was happening in my body wasn't just about calories or how much I exercised. And I knew I had to make a choice that would lead me to discover the wonders of Ayurveda and the guidance of mentors and coaches who enlightened me about the impact of my choices. So the food that I ate, and even almost more importantly, or maybe equally important, the activities and my lifestyle habits. So day by day, week by week, I uncovered the truth about those things. And I felt really empowered by some of this new found guidance that I was receiving. And I got to the point where I started paying more attention to the quality of food and the quality of my activities. and I began to listen to my body more and make choices that were more aligned with what I wanted instead of just caring about the number of calories. So today I've, gotten rid of those headaches. I don't have the skin issues. I rarely have an upset stomach. And what I want you to know is if one of those symptoms shows up, then I have the tools to, kind of backtrack and see what I might have done recently that could have influenced it. So today I stand before you feeling younger and healthier than ever, even at the age of 56, which I never thought I would be standing here so proudly telling you that. And I've shattered the limiting beliefs and adversarial relationship I once had with my body. And I'm living proof that transformation is possible. So my purpose is to spread this message far and wide and to guide others towards their own transformation. And I really want you to know that if I can do these things and reclaim my, what I feel like is my health, because even though I had the perception of health, all those things that were showing up, those symptoms, they didn't make me feel very healthy. So if I could reclaim and feel better in my body, then you can do it too. So I'm putting in a stake in the ground that you can feel better. You can take control over some of those things that might be happening in your body, no matter how many times you've tried and failed. Today is day one on your new health journey. So one thing that I always tell on my calls is make sure you have something to drink. So I'm going to take a sip. I invite you to do that as well. I see the bottles up. Good job. So yeah, hydration is always super important. So I'm going to take a breath. All right. So as we go through today and the next 2 days as well, make sure you have something to take notes with. I think Donnelly dropped the link for the workbook in the chat. There may have been a problem with access to it before. So if you weren't able to get into it, there's the link. You can pull it up or you can print it, whatever feels better to you if you don't like printing things. We're only going to look at a little bit of it today, but you can use it to take notes, or you can, use the device or tablet of your choice. So with taking notes, I really invite you, take as many notes as you want because we're going to go through a lot, but then pick just one or two things, because I really don't want you to get overwhelmed with trying to change too many things at once. So pick one or two things that really resonate with you and then try to make an adjustment that we go through, or that you can go through with those. And I really invite you, with everything I share with you in the next 3 days, to have a beginner's mind, because it can be so easy to be, thinking like, well, I've heard that before, or, I tried that once. So if you tried something once, you know, you can still think about maybe what would it be like to try it again, or maybe why did I only try it once? So having that beginner's mind and being open to, maybe you're a different person now, maybe, your circumstances are different. So really having that beginner's mind, and you might even ask yourself, am I doing that? And if not, why? So is there some kind of resistance, or, what else, could be standing in your way? And the other thing I wanted to share with you is also that for those of you who are interested in getting more support or would like to know what it's like to work more closely with me, I will share a little later in the next few days about what that might look like. But we are ready to dive in now with our day one, which is resetting your mind. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me see if I can get in here to that. Awesome. I'll share the presentation. I just want to make sure I have everything up that I need. Can you guys see that okay? Awesome. So today is all about reset your mind. And what does that mean? So here's a really interesting statistic, and I find so many of them out there, but we tend to think of, you know, positive mindset, what does it mean? Does it mean, just, walking around like everything is rainbows and butterflies? But people with a more positive perception of aging lived on average, this is according to a study published by JAMA Internal Medicine, that people with a more positive perception of aging lived on average 7.5 years longer than those with a negative perception of aging. So what does that mean? That means viewing the aging process and knowing that maybe you have more control over what's next in your life than you might have thought. So people who feel like that they're at the mercy of their bodies or it's all downhill from here, those were the people who actually lived 7.5 years less based on this study that was done. So what does that mean? It means negative thoughts and moods can affect you physically. So just as hot flashes, lack of sleep, and stiff joints and muscles can affect you emotionally. So it's that mind-body connection. So things that are going in our bodies can affect our mind and emotions, and things that are going on in our mind and emotions can affect our bodies. So they are so connected. I'm going to come out of the presentation and go back here. So there's another expression that I like, which is quiet the mind and you can calm the body. Quiet the body and you can calm the mind. So if you have your workbook on page 2, and let me see if I can share this for you. There's a little chart that we're going to look at. And if you don't have that printed or you don't have it open, you can always just create 3 columns on a sheet of paper. And the first column is stressors. So for example, finances, kids, commuting, work or your boss, family or relationships. The second column is your reactions. And that's physical and emotional reactions or responses to stress. So things like headaches, stiff neck and shoulders, high blood pressure, hot flashes, anxiety. And then in the third column, what are your coping strategies? And these could be good coping strategies or not so good coping strategies. Things like overeating, smoking, shopping, talking to a friend, taking a walk, or counting to 10. So I invite you to take a few moments, and you don't have to do it all now because might be something that you think about later or something comes to mind when you notice a stressor popping up to you. But you might write, what's the stressor? How does it feel in my body? What does it feel like when it shows up? Do I feel like a tightening in my chest? Do I feel that upset stomach? Like, are my shoulders all the way up around my ears? That's one for me. Like I notice when my ears, I'll be sitting at my desk and all of a sudden they're up here and then I have to exhale and relax them down. Donnelly's shaking her head. So just noticing those things. And then what is the coping strategy that you've tended to rely on without judgment, without beating ourselves up, even if it's, overeating or overspending? The key is always having that awareness first, because if we don't have the awareness, then there's no way that we can make any type of a change. So I'll give you a little bit to try and fill that out. Give you a minute or two. I'm going to let me play some music for you. Let me go to my music. Can you hear that? It's soft. I'll give you about 15 more seconds. So not a whole lot of time, but just food for thoughts. Right. And with everything that you might choose to um, put awareness around or write, if you'd like to drop it in the chat, please feel free to, but also know that that's entirely optional. If you want to share, that's, definitely encouraged, but not required or mandatory. So if anybody has anything they want to share. While I move things around on my screen. I can't tell if anyone's typing or not, so I'm waiting a second. You are? Okay. All right. Lack of productivity. Response is a judge and coping strategy. Response is judge and coping strategy is further distractions. Yeah. Yeah. That procrastination where we, come up with all kinds of things that might feel better to do. And we get those distractions. Stress or grief. Response, anxious, tired, drained. Coping, Dr. Pepper, sleep, veg out. Yep, we've talked about those. Yeah, and they all make such sense. And the thing is having that awareness and maybe figuring out what would be, a more helpful coping strategy. What would serve you better? And maybe in the next few days we'll figure some of that out. Yoga, absolutely. Yes. Move the body. Change a thought, move a muscle. So what we're going to do now is a little moment of check-in. We're going to do what's called a Reiki meditation. So I invite you to find a position that feels comfortable. And that might mean staying exactly as you are in your chair, or if you want to lie on the floor, I invite you to do that. You can keep your camera on, you can shut it off, whatever feels more comfortable and safe to you. So wherever you'd like to put your body, however you'd like to put your body, I invite you to gently close the eyes. Take a deep breath in through the nose and exhale with an audible sigh, feeling your body held and supported. Relaxing the shoulders, that spot between the eyebrows. You can keep your hands in your lap or you could place them on your heart, wherever feels most natural. And then listening to these words, perhaps repeating them to yourself silently. Just for today, I will not be angry. I will not worry. I will be grateful. I will devote myself to my duties, and I will be kind and compassionate to myself and to others. I am healthy. I am whole. I am a self-healer. I hold all wisdom to heal myself within. All I need to do is keep quiet. My inner knowledge will guide me on my path to wellness. I am powerful and I can overcome any obstacle that detours me. I can heal myself through laughter, love, music, and movement. I take excellent care of myself, mind, body, and spirit. I can say no to things to keep myself in balance. I can also say no to things that do not excite me. I practice self-care daily, and if I miss or forget, I can forgive myself easily. I can heal myself. I am healthy. I am whole. I am a self-healer. I hold all wisdom to heal myself within. All I need to do is keep quiet. My inner knowledge will guide me on my path to wellness. I am powerful and I can overcome any obstacle that detours me. I can heal myself through laughter, love, music, and movement. I take excellent care of myself, mind, body, and spirit. I can say no to things to keep myself in balance. I can also say no to things that do not excite me. I practice self-care daily, and if I miss or forget, I can forgive myself easily. I can heal myself. So taking a few more breaths together, breathing in those affirmations and breathing in the energy of healing to your body. So Reiki is the body's natural way of healing itself. It's our innate ability to heal our own bodies. So now taking another breath and softening and relaxing into those places where you hold tension, or if you notice any pain or discomfort, allow that Reiki energy to move through you, healing you. And then whenever you're ready, you can blink your eyes open, coming back to the room that you're in. See Donnelly shimmying a little bit. Very nice. So now we're going to reflect on limiting beliefs around aging. So taking a few moments to reflect on your thoughts or beliefs about aging. We talked a little bit about this, but really um, taking an opportunity to notice what beliefs you might have, whether they're positive or negative, and maybe ones that you perceive as limiting. And again, being non-judgmental with yourself. So some of the things that might come up might be, I'm too old to achieve new goals, or my best years are behind me. I hear that one so much. Or aging means decline and loss of vitality. So if you feel like, I'm slower now because I'm older, or, um, whatever, maybe I forget. I don't know if it was Michelle, if you and I were talking about cartwheels, but maybe like, yeah, she's saying yes. You no longer think you can do the cartwheel because you're a certain age, or you just don't even want to try something new. Maybe there's something new, like a language you'd like to learn or a skill, but you think, oh, that's past me. I can't learn that. And then taking a step back and objectively analyzing those things that come up for you, and consider whether those beliefs are rooted in a truth or are they simply a perception that may not be serving you well? And when we notice those things, we can try to reframe those thoughts and beliefs. So asking yourself, what evidence do you have that supports that limiting belief? So is there really any evidence that says that you can't learn that new thing or that your best days are behind you? And what evidence might exist to contradict or challenge this belief? So maybe you're learning something new. So if there's something else that you want to learn, that doesn't mean that you're too old. So for instance, for me, in the last couple of years, I decided, I don't even know where it came to me. I wanted to learn how to knit and crochet, and I went on to my favorite thing, YouTube University, and I learned how to knit. I learned how to crochet, and I mean, I've made a ton of stuff, blankets and all kinds of new baby stuff and sweaters, and it was something that I did not know before that. So for me to learn that new thing was really amazing. And the side bonus is when you learn something new, you're creating all those awesome neural pathways. But that can be evidence for you if you're learning something, if you're, maybe you learned a new recipe or you stepped out of your comfort zone and tried something new, that can serve as evidence that you can do those other things too. So looking at what evidence exists, even if you have to, step out of your comfort zone and maybe make the evidence happen now, that's okay too. And maybe thinking about what alternative belief could support your journey toward an empowered and fulfilling aging process. So I see, as a runner, you probably know that I'm a runner. Yeah, running is one of my favorite things, and that also didn't come to me. I didn't start running till I was, I think, 40. And since then, I've done over 30 marathons. I've done the Boston Marathon, all kinds of things that used to seem totally outside of the realm of possible for me. So that's given me evidence that I can do certain things. But the really cool thing is of being in a world of other runners, I get articles all the time and notifications of runners who are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond who are doing amazing things. Now, does that mean every single person who's 70, 80, or 90 is doing those things? Heck no. But there are people out there who are getting off the couch and doing some of those things, and they are great evidence for me that anything is possible. So that's one of the things that I'm suggesting is looking for the evidence, whether it's within you or noticing what other people are doing. And then really remembering that our beliefs are not set in stone, and you have the power to choose beliefs that support your growth and your well-being throughout the aging process. Because one thing that I heard, and I hope I can restate it, is that you and we are currently the oldest we've ever been, but we're also the youngest we'll ever be again. So really thinking about, how young and vital you are and all that you have in you, and knowing that maybe 10, 20 years from now, 30 years, however many more years you've got, you might look back on this stage in your life right now as being pivotal in making a change in how you feel in that future version of you. All right, so that was a lot. So does anybody have any comments or questions before I move on? And you can take a sip of your water. Take a breath. Yeah, it's like a drinking game, only we're all drinking water. I learned that the body is listening to everything I think and believe. Oh, it so is. I have changed my beliefs about aging due to this knowledge. That is awesome. It is really listening. Yeah, that is so true. I am going to share my screen really quickly. And I think I need to change the screen as well. Change what we're looking at. So briefly, I want to talk about stress and aging and also your mind listening and your body paying attention. So on the screen is an example of telomeres. So is anybody familiar with telomeres? Yep, a little bit. And then also a little information about cortisol. I'm going to come out of the screen. So That way I can see you guys. But let me see. Did I come out of the share? Yeah, I did. So telomeres are basically the little, for lack of better words, they're similar to the little tips on your shoelaces. They protect your DNA. And just like shoelaces, those little ends can get frayed and get shorter. So when the telomeres get shorter, that shows up in aging in the body because basically the cells are aging quicker that way because our cells can only divide so many times, and the telomeres actually protect that division. And different things that we do in our lives can either lengthen or shorten the telomeres. So a lot of our lifestyle changes or lifestyle habits can impact those telomeres. And one of the biggies is stress. So chronic stress can really accelerate the aging process on a cellular level because those protective caps at the end of the chromosomes actually can shorten quicker. It increases the risk of age-related diseases. So things like heart disease and cancer, things like that can be impacted by those telomeres. And also things like age spots, gray hair, wrinkles, those are all things that show up as damage or due to damage to those telomeres. And then the other connection between stress, so stress can shorten the telomeres and show up in cellular damage, but chronic stress also can affect your cortisol. So for a lot of us, we hear cortisol and we think belly fat because cortisol can show up in that way where we have weight gain around the belly due to increased cortisol. But when we have high levels of stress, it can also disrupt the balance of our hormones. So potentially leading to hormonal imbalances that can impact your overall well-being. So cortisol is known as the primary stress hormone, and it's released from the adrenal glands in response to stress. And in general, it's supposed to be a good thing because it helps your body respond to perceived threats. We've all heard of fight or flight, which, back when we were cave people, it served us really well. If there was a tiger and we had that burst of adrenaline because we saw that tiger and we ran away, that was a really good thing. But what happens is that for a lot of us, we live in a state of chronic stress. And when stress triggers the release of cortisol, we go into that fight or flight situation. Our heart rate goes up, we have elevated blood pressure, and our digestion slows down, all things that were designed to help us run away from that tiger. But in our daily lives, things like getting cut off in traffic or having a conversation with somebody who stresses us out or, any number of other things. I mean, you name it. We're all living this life or, life is in session. Those things can put us into a stress response. But in general, if we can deal with our stress, if we use our tools, so Michelle mentioned yoga and things like that, meditation, the meditation that we did, the deep breathing exercises, if we have tools that we can use or if we can self-regulate, we can take ourselves out of that fight or flight situation. But if we stay in a state of chronic stress, we have prolonged elevation of that cortisol, and that can just throw off our body's natural balance. And that means a cascade of hormones. And that's some of the stuff we're going to talk about in the next few days as well. So when that happens, it can show up in our bodies in different ways. We can have our impaired immune function. So that means our immune system is slowing down, making individuals more susceptible to infections and illnesses. We have disrupted sleep patterns. Can anybody relate to disrupted sleep patterns? And I'm seeing some nods, yeah. So high cortisol can actually be the cause. And it varies from person to person, but a lot of times, I think about the things we talk about. So it could be caffeine, it could be different things. But if your chronically stressed, or even it might even be a thing where you're sitting in bed at night reading the news or reading your email, that can jack your cortisol up. And even though you were all set and ready to go to bed, now you might find yourself laying there tossing and turning and thinking about those things. So cortisol can be a key player in disrupted sleep patterns. You love my phone case. Thank you. It too is purple. Um, so going back to the cortisol. So I mentioned the weight gain and the cortisol belly. It can throw off our metabolism and contribute to that increased abdominal fat, but it's also can do or be attributed to that altered metabolism. And it can throw off our blood sugar levels, which can increase the risk for conditions like obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. So that's why we see some of these things show up in middle age or around the time of menopause, because what happens is all those hormones, just like your mind and your body, they all are doing a delicate dance. And if the cortisol is out of whack, it's going to throw all those other hormones out as well. And it can show up in mood disorders. And that just basically means, maybe you have mood swings or you deal with anxiety or depression. So chronic stress can be a big player in all of that. So the key is starting with where we are and knowing that one of the key contributors to all of that can be stress and how we manage it. So prolonged stress can dysregulate your cortisol levels. It can disrupt your delicate hormone balance of all those other hormones. So things like estrogen and progesterone and even testosterone. So even as women, we have testosterone and we need to have the right balance of all of those. And there are other hormones at play too. We have hunger and satiety hormones. There's ghrelin and leptin. And there's our thyroid hormone. So all of those are doing a delicate dance. And sometimes it takes taking a step back and looking at how we're managing stress and just taking control of that as much as we can. Because to be fair, none of us are going to live a stress-free lives. We all have stuff going on. We all have things happening. Life is in session every single day. You might be driving your car and get cut off in traffic, or, somebody does, something jerky to you. So things happen, but it's how you manage it and your perception of it that can make all the difference into what happens next and how you feel in your body. So I have a quote I wanted to share with you. Let me find it. Oops. Let's see if I can pull it up. Oh, I guess I didn't put it on my thing. Oops, I guess I didn't share it on my I thought I made a pretty slide for you, but I guess I didn't. So I'll just read you the quote. And the quote is, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another." And that was William James. So a lot of times we feel like we have no choice, we have no control, but we do have the power to choose our thoughts. So even if a thought creeps in that we don't like, we can actually say to that thought, stop, get out of here, and choose another thought. So before we close with those thoughts, we're going to go back and just talk a little bit about affirmations. So when we did the Reiki meditation, there were some affirmations in there. And affirmations are so powerful because they help us counterbalance those negative thoughts and those limiting beliefs. So by consciously choosing those positive affirmations, we can gradually shift our thoughts and replace self-doubt and negativity with empowering, supportive beliefs about aging. So remembering when we started, and I had that stat about the people who have a more positive mindset on average live 7.5 years longer. So it's really about using those affirmations to reshape our perception and to help that or help ourselves in turn to age better. So those affirmations help us shape self-perception. They help us build resilience. So to me, that's one of the most important parts about aging better is being more resilient because our bodies are going to change, they're going to shift, things are going to happen. But the big key is how resilient are you to those changes? And again, affirmations help us cultivate optimism, which is going to help us hopefully live a little bit longer or live better while we're living longer. And they enhance that mind-body connection. So within the next 3 days, we're going to have a call to action for each day. And I invite you to share your call to action in the Facebook group. So in the Embrace Your Age Facebook group. And today's affirmation or today's call to action is all about those affirmations. So I invite you to, and I'm going to pull up a slide so you can see this. Today's call to action is all about those affirmations. So you might want to create a list of 3 to 5. They could be ones that I shared earlier, or they might be something different. And then just, ones that really resonate and reflect your desired mindset and your goals. And the key to the affirmations are repeating them and reinforcing them. So ideally in the morning or before bed, and say them out loud with conviction. Write them down, or you could even create a visualization practice that incorporates your affirmation. You might create reminders. So setting up visual reminders or cues. So it could be a sticky note on your bathroom mirror or on your refrigerator, maybe setting an alarm on your phone, to go off every so often to remind you to say those affirmations. Because consistency is really key when it comes to harnessing the power of affirmations. So that's the big thing, is having that consistency. So with that, our CTA number 1 invite you to love up on 1 or 2 other posts as well of somebody else who's shared their affirmation, because at the end of the challenge, I am going to be doing a drawing. So if you do all the affirmations, then you get entered into the drawing. So that is today. And thank you for sharing that into the chat, Donnelly. So I'm kind of curious, we're just about at our hour. What questions or ahas do you have? What takeaway do you have? And you can either write that in the chat or you can unmute and feel free to share it. Your question or your aha, big takeaway.
I think my aha is the telomeres that I had learned about but forgotten about, and how that affects so many other things. Like every you said it, and I went, "Oh yeah, that's right. Huh, I forgot about that." That it also made me think of my daughter, who I know is in chronic stress for the past year and a half. So she was homesick again today. Like it just keeps happening with my kids. And they're like, well, what's wrong? I just have a fever, or I just have a little cold. And I'm like, yes, it's called stress/grief for them. So yeah, good reminder.
Yeah. Awesome. And I'm so sorry to hear that, but I'm hoping, and I mean, I know you've got tools to share with her, so hopefully that is helping her in some regard as well. Yeah, but it's true, and that's a great reminder. I'm so glad you said that, Michelle, because our telomeres are affected no matter, we don't have to get to 40 or 50 or any specific age for our telomeres to be impacted. You're right. As a teenager, they've actually done studies on telomeres fetuses, in vitro. So it's very, yeah, very interesting. And I'm seeing from Donnelly the power of affirmations to change our beliefs and the need for repetition. Yep, to create new neural pathways that allow subconscious to remember my new programming. Yeah, repetition, repetition, repetition. You are so right about that. Well, awesome. I am so glad that you were able to join me today. And again, we will be back tomorrow. We're going to be talking about nurturing your body and getting into a little bit of balancing the hormones because each day just builds on each other. And unless you guys have anything else, that's all I have. Awesome. Well, I'm so glad to get to share this time, and I'm going to stop the recording for now, and we can have a minute, but thank you to everybody watching at a later time.